Hello everyone, my name is David Asafu Adjaye, and this is my presentation on the Newark Debate Academy, the organization I've been interning with this semester. The Newark Debate Academy, formerly the Jersey Urban Debate League, that piece of information will become relevant later on, is a 501c3 nonprofit organization in Newark that specializes in bringing debate education to children in elementary, middle, and high school programs. Most of what it does is provide resources for travel for students as well as coaching infrastructure for schools that could not otherwise afford it. It has emphasized the legacy of community first team orientation, which has been used to support multiple schools in the district to reaching national acclaim and reputable success. But the Newark Debate Academy does face an existential crisis, which is that student engagement has significantly reduced. Now, there are certain qualitative and quantitative metrics for this. On a qualitative section, you can determine based on student competition how engaged students are with their coaches generally and how engaged they are with the organization outside of merely their school. But a quantitative level, coaches have reported smaller team sizes, and teams in the network are down overall, as evidenced by tournament sizes and event sizes the organization has held. Now, this lack of engaged students also makes it harder for us to determine what the organization needs to do in order to keep students motivated towards debate education, which is a major problem for an organization that specializes in an activity that is an extracurricular. Unlike other programs in education, such as schools, students have to opt into the organization, so a lack of student engagement can make it significantly harder to keep student participation up and to keep the organization going. There are a few implications for this. First, a lack of student engagement produces demotivation across the board, which means that the community isn't adequately being served. Second, it influences the performance of students. There is not a ton of explanation needed to know that students that are not engaged tend not to perform well in every educational sector, and debate is no different. This also has an impact on the way that funders and donors perceive the organization, which could be catastrophic for the organization in the near future. That will become more relevant later on as well. Finally, there is a compounding effect to this. As students are less engaged, it becomes harder to attract new ones because a lot of what attracts students to the organization in the first place is the community first aspect we priorly discussed. So without engaged students, it becomes harder to build that community. There is a way forward, and this way forward will require a multidimensional approach centered on creating internal and external opportunities for expansion. The organization needs to go back to its roots and what it used to do in order to generate success and rebuild student engagement from the ground up. Now, what does that mean? First, on an internal level, the organization would benefit significantly from integrating the separate programs and having them work together, taking on a more facilitating role as opposed to merely one of providing resources. The Newark Debate Academy used to do this to an extreme extent. It used to have a unified travel team that students would have to apply to be a part of, and it used to fund certain select members, which helped students from all across the district become acquainted with each other. However, with a lot more resources comes an ability to support individual schools at an individual level, which means that this communal aspect has gone away. Donors that the organization has, like the Terrell Fund and Focus, have now in some ways made it harder for student engagement to be a thing. But that should never be a problem. They should be able to integrate those programs, and they've tried it on a micro level this year. At the National Speech and Debate Tournament, which multiple schools from the district qualified for, they are planning a mechanism for student engagement that requires that they engage with each other in scrimmages, practices, and research, all of which has been going successfully. I've actually gotten a chance to be a part of that initiative, and it makes you wonder why that's not the standard model. Second, the administration should have students once every quarter deliver feedback on organizational events and their coaches. They know best what they need in order to improve, in order to stay motivated, and in order to stay engaged. And this would help students feel as though their feedback is relevant and that the organization hears them. Seeing yourself as an important part of the organization is a major motivating factor and could help increase student engagement drastically. On an external level, The Newark Debate Academy should develop and fully fund a unified marketing strategy that promotes debate education to schools within the greater Newark area, with primary areas of focus being sent on Irvington, West Orange, and South Orange. In particular, I think that this would be great because those are where the largest concentration of kids that are not a part of the network is. And they have beta tested this in the past. Multiple schools that are not a part of the Newark school district, such as the West Orange High School and the Success Academy charter schools in New York, are a part of the Newark Debate Academy, and they've been working pretty successfully. But the only reason why is because certain people that were a part of the organization went to teach at those schools. It demonstrates that when the program and the organization looks outward and actively searches for other schools, it can integrate them into the community and help balance the numbers that they currently have. This would also help make the organization's impact portfolio extremely attractive to venture philanthropists. And venture philanthropy is increasing significantly as people want to see a qualitative impact that their money makes. Being able to widen the scope and describe the multiple different areas of the state that your program is actually affecting would go a long way in helping them feel as though that their money is being used wisely and being used effectively. The only place where this could potentially be a problem is in the areas of role overload and role conflict. When instituting a new program, it's extremely important that individuals know what their role is in that program and know how to manage and balance those things effectively. If the Newark Debate Academy can figure that out, this initiative could work wonders. But the question becomes, what are the implications for the organization after the plan? The goal is to institute a communal culture around the organization that treats the administration and those that are affected, i.e., coaches, students, and schools in general, not as separate components, but as interwoven ones that need each other in order to succeed. This would emphasize three things as being necessary. One, it would emphasize communication. The organization would have to be in constant communication with students, parents, teachers, their donors, and all facets would have to be in communication with each other to some degree. Second, it would require engagement. All parties would have to constantly report on things that were happening and would have to engage with each other on a level that they are not currently doing. And finally, service delivery and accountability. The first two may seem relatively important, it's important to remember that the organization's mission is to produce a service, to provide debate education to underprivileged kids that want it but do not currently have access to it. And it's important to make sure that that mission is met above everything else. This has been a phenomenal opportunity for me in particular. Uh, there are a few things that we touched on over the semester that personally helped me move through this program, and I think that one of them is summed up perfectly in a quote from our text. Finally, we engaged as a class community with the community outside the university's walls, a community in which we were all asked to apply our talents, skills, and capacities to the express task of making positive change. This in particular hit me because it required every aspect of things that I have learned, from grant writing classes to philanthropy classes to communication in particular spot classes to just a basic understanding of organizational structure, all of which has made me extremely influential and extremely effective at the job that I was able to do this semester. Now, that begs the question, where do I go from here? Because this has been an extremely important step for me, but by no means the only or last step. Well, first, this experience helped me clarify my desire to work in supplemental education. I don't necessarily want to work in a school, but I do want to work helping provide educational resources to students. So, I plan on working another internship soon with an organization that either gives grants to schools and programs specializing in educational services, or helps develop curriculum for educational programs. Both of these are things that I have found myself to be extremely good at. I have found an organizational paradigm that I can use, and I think all of these would be places where I could spread my wings and exercise not only my talents, but things that I found a legitimate interest in. Before I end this presentation, there are a few people that I do want to thank. I want to thank the Newark Debate Academy for giving me the opportunity to do this internship. My supervisors, Carlos Estacio, Devon Murphy, and Christopher Kozak, were phenomenal and treated this as much as an opportunity for them as it was an opportunity for me, and I could not be more grateful. Lastly, I want to thank Dr. Amadullah and the entire support system we have at SPA. It's one of the best departments, I think, in the entire university, and it would literally be impossible to log this number of hours in the middle of a global pandemic without all the support that they've given us. So thank you so much, and here are my works cited.